Rosa Graciela Mejía Izquierdo was born in 1979 in Peru. While little is known about her parents, she grew up with two younger sisters, Lucy Starr and Leslie Bridget. Sparse details exist about her early life, except that in her youth she had a daughter, though information about the child's father is unknown. In a tragic twist, Rosa was imprisoned for illicit drug trafficking, a life-altering experience that left an indelible mark on her. Upon her release, she tried to rebuild her life, which ultimately led her to cross paths with Omar Israel Caton Lantop. It was revealed that, like Rosa, Omar was born in 1979 in the vibrant city of Chiclayo, Peru. He was known for his kind character and his willingness to help others. Although not much is known about his family, it is recorded that he had a maternal half-brother named Jorge González Lant and two aunts, Carmen and Jessica Caton, with whom he shared a close bond. Omar excelled in his studies and pursued a career in civil engineering at the National University Pedro Ruiz Gallo. His dedication and hard work earned him multiple contracts throughout the country, providing him with a stable and comfortable life. The exact circumstances of Rosa and Omar's meeting remain uncertain, but it is believed they met in the neighborhood where they both lived, the town of 9 de Octubre in Chiclayo. Initially, their relationship was one of friendship, but over time, a spark of love emerged, and they began a romantic relationship. Before long, Rosa moved into Omar's house, and within a few months, she became pregnant, despite already having a daughter from a previous relationship. The arrival of their daughter, whom they named Chantal Alexa, brought joy and warmth to the Caton household. Omar proved to be a loving and dedicated father. A few years after Chantal's birth, Omar decided to solidify his commitment to Rosa by proposing to her in 2014. In an intimate ceremony surrounded by family and close friends, the wedding was a moment of joy and hope for both Rosa and Omar, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Initially, they appeared happy, or at least that was the impression given by the many photos they shared on social media, where they were seen together at various locations. In other posts, they appeared delighted with their daughter, projecting the image of a harmonious family. However, beneath the surface, the reality was different. Omar's work often required him to travel, leading to prolonged absences from home. This began to cause tension between the couple, as Rosa demanded more of his time and presence for herself and their daughter. Despite Omar's efforts to prioritize family time, his professional commitments made it difficult. Additionally, his community work, which benefited the local sector and nearby towns, earned him the respect and admiration of many neighbors who spoke highly of him. Yet, while he gained the affection and esteem of others, he gradually lost the love of his wife. Unfortunately, the relationship deteriorated further. The couple frequently quarreled and even filed complaints against each other for alleged physical aggression. By 2018, their marriage was in a critical state, marked by constant arguments and confrontations that made the situation unbearable. Although Omar tried to salvage their relationship, Rosa was not making similar efforts. Amid this marital crisis, Rosa met a 24-year-old man named Giancarlo Alder Torres Santisteban, although few details about his life were known. 19 years her junior, he offered the emotional support she felt was missing in her marriage. Their relationship began as a friendship, with Rosa confiding in Giancarlo about the difficulties she was experiencing with Omar. Before long, he became her confidant. The more Rosa distanced herself from Omar, the closer she became to Giancarlo. Gradually, he managed to win her over, and eventually they gave in to their desires, beginning a clandestine affair. Records indicate that by 2019, Rosa and Omar initiated divorce proceedings. However, after this, there was an apparent reconciliation, though it was short-lived, as jealous arguments soon resurfaced. The months passed, marked by periods of separation and attempts at reconciliation, during which Rosa drew further away from her husband and deepened her connection with Giancarlo. By mid-2021, the marriage was virtually broken. Omar spent more time in the city of Cajamarca and was rarely home. Rosa used his absences as opportunities to be with Giancarlo. By that time, she had fallen deeply in love with the young man and only wanted to be with him, but Omar stood in the way of her plans. At times, Rosa and her lover would jokingly fantasize about removing Omar from their lives so they could fully live out their romance. What began as idle talk took a dark turn after a particularly heated argument between Rosa and Omar, which became the catalyst for making their fantasies a reality. In early 2022, Rosa had won a complaint against her husband for alleged physical abuse, but Omar countered with his own claim. This tension set the stage for a sinister plan involving Giancarlo and another accomplice, Fernando Jose Mundaca Gonzalez, who was 20 years old. The two men arrived at the Caton residence at around 5 a.m. on January 10, 2022, while Omar was still asleep. Rosa facilitated their entry by simulating a break-in. Once inside, Rosa woke Omar, telling him that there were intruders in the living room. He got up and approached the supposed robbers, showing a cooperative attitude and pleading with them to take whatever they wanted as long as they did not harm him or his wife. Giancarlo and Fernando acted aggressively, wrecking the place and demanding money and valuables. At one point, Giancarlo simulated a threat to Rosa by holding a sharp kitchen object to her neck, successfully subduing Omar, who begged them not to harm his wife. Fernando pointed a gun at Omar, ordering him to kneel on the floor before binding his hands and feet. Once Omar was immobilized, Giancarlo withdrew the sharp object with which he had been threatening Rosa. At that moment, Omar realized he was the sole victim of this supposed robbery. One can only imagine the thoughts racing through his mind as he saw his wife colluding with two strangers in such a betrayal. Amidst this realization, Rosa took her husband's cell phone, allegedly discovering messages between him and a female colleague. Fueled by rage, she climbed onto Omar's chest, still bound, and slapped him repeatedly on the head before placing a pillow over his face and suffocating him. When Omar ceased moving, Rosa instructed her accomplices to dig a pit in the backyard to bury him. Subsequent confessions revealed that during the act, Rosa turned on her stereo at full volume to create the illusion of a party and avoid suspicion from neighbors. At dawn, she left to buy cement and lime to cover the body and mask any odors from decomposition. To complete their gruesome plan, Rosa purchased food and half a case of beer to celebrate. The lovers, emboldened by alcohol, attended a party to continue drinking and later moved their revelry to the house of one of Giancarlo's cousins. After the night of festivities, they returned to Rosa's residence, where Omar's lifeless body lay buried. The pair continued their lives as if nothing had happened, with Rosa using her husband's belongings, his clothes, cologne, and personal effects. However, Omar's sudden and unexplained absence soon raised alarms among his friends and family. Calls to his cell phone went unanswered, as it was always turned off. Worried by the lack of communication, they visited Rosa, who claimed that her husband had left town for work and was likely in an area with no cell coverage. 2 days later, when Omar still had not returned, his aunts and brother decided to file a missing persons report. Family and friends urgently sought answers from the authorities, but as days passed, there was no trace of Omar. It became evident that something was terribly wrong. It was unlike him to lose contact, especially with his aunts, to whom he was very close. While his family tirelessly searched for him, Rosa continued her life unfazed, with her husband's corpse lying just meters away. More than 2 weeks later, on January 25, 2022, Omar's brother, Jorge, visited Rosa's house to speak with her. Rosa appeared calm and even invited him inside, assuring him that Omar was not there and everything was fine. Jorge, trusting his sister-in-law, asked her to inform him immediately if she heard anything about his brother. Rosa's composed demeanor lasted until the following day. On Wednesday, January 26th, Rosa, visibly anxious, visited her sisters and recounted the details of the supposed robbery, mentioning Omar's death but omitting her involvement in the crime. When her sisters asked where Omar's body was, Rosa led them to the backyard. Questioned about why she hadn't reported the incident to the police, she claimed that the criminals had threatened her and fear had kept her silent. However, she confessed that she could no longer bear to keep the secret. Instead of concealing the crime as Rosa feared, her sisters went to the authorities and reported what had happened. They told the officers that Omar's body was buried at Rosa's house and blamed the supposed criminals for his death. Officers from the Criminal Investigation Division quickly arrived at the Caton residence, guided by Rosa's sisters to a section of the yard that showed disturbed earth and emitted a foul odor. Upon digging, the officers discovered a human body. The 3rd Provincial Corporate Criminal Prosecutor's Office of Chiclayo was notified and ordered the removal of the body. With the participation of forensic experts and a forensic doctor, the recovery of the body commenced. The corpse was found over a meter deep, lying on its left side, covered with earth and lime. The hands and feet were bound behind the back, and due to the advanced state of decomposition, further analysis was necessary to determine the exact date and cause of death. Omar's body was taken to the Institute of Legal Medicine in Lambaek for these studies. While experts conducted their work, police officers interrogated Rosa. Initially, she clung to the story she had told her sisters, but under police pressure, she soon implicated Giancarlo as the main perpetrator of the crime against her husband. The prosecutor ordered a police commission to accompany Rosa to Giancarlo's residence in the same town. When officers arrived at his house on Los Cedros Street, they found and arrested him. Both Rosa and Giancarlo were taken to the main judicial headquarters. Hours later, the results of the autopsy were released, revealing a chilling detail: Omar had been buried alive. This conclusion was based on the discovery of dirt in his throat and lungs. The news horrified not only Omar's family and friends, but also the entire community, who gathered to bid him a final farewell. His coffin, heavily wrapped in layers of plastic due to the state of putrefaction, was brought to his home. Amidst tears, those who knew him remembered him as a hard-working and devoted man. Jorge, Omar's brother, spoke of Rosa's cold demeanor during the 2 weeks following the murder, repeatedly assuring everyone that Omar was fine while living with his corpse and carrying on as if nothing had happened. After the painful farewell, family members and friends held a vigil outside the headquarters of the Criminal Investigation Division, demanding justice and punishment for those responsible. On January 29, 2022, the indictment hearing for Giancarlo and Rosa took place at the Court of Preliminary Investigations in Chiclayo. Due to COVID-19 safety protocols, the hearing was conducted virtually. The defendants were present in a room at the Lambaek Judicial Headquarters, where Rosa faced charges of parricide and Giancarlo was charged with homicide. Rosa tried to shift the entire blame onto Giancarlo, admitting that she had been in a clandestine relationship with him and had provided him financial support. "It's true that I worked and covered for him because I had problems," she stated. After hearing the arguments presented by the prosecution, the judge ordered preventive imprisonment for both Rosa and Giancarlo for 9 months, citing their lack of stable residence or employment as factors that could hinder the investigation. They were sent to the Chiclayo Penitentiary while the investigation proceeded and the case prepared for trial. Despite the incarceration of Rosa and Giancarlo, police suspected a third individual might be involved. This suspicion was confirmed on June 13, 2022, when detectives identified Fernando, who was subsequently arrested during an oral trial hearing. During the hearing, the prosecution detailed the events of January 10, 2022. According to the official account, Rosa had allowed Giancarlo and his friend Fernando into her house under the pretense of a staged robbery to overpower Omar and dispose of his body without remorse. Rosa's indictment was based on her betrayal of her husband by conspiring with her lover and executing the fatal plan in collaboration with Fernando. The prosecution requested sentences of 31 years and 8 months for Rosa as the principal perpetrator, 24 years and 4 months for Giancarlo as a main accomplice, and 22 years for Fernando, also as a principal accomplice. Additionally, all three were ordered to pay civil reparations amounting to 100,000 Peruvian soles, approximately $7,000. Rosa's and Giancarlo's lawyers expressed their clients' intention to seek the benefit of early termination, which could reduce their sentences and shorten trial proceedings if they admitted guilt. However, upon hearing the sentences proposed by the public prosecutor's office, both rejected the benefit, maintaining their innocence and opting to face trial. The trial took place in the Second Collegiate Criminal Court of Chiclayo. During the proceedings, the prosecution presented approximately 40 pieces of evidence. This included witness testimonies, forensic analysis of the crime scene, psychological assessments, and cell phone records that confirmed the relationship between Rosa and her lover, Giancarlo. Rosa, labeled by the media as the Black Widow, was charged with parricide due to the toxic nature of her relationship with Omar. The prosecution argued that the catalyst for the crime was Rosa's anger after learning that Omar had reported her for abuse, despite her recent victory in a lawsuit against him for the same issue. According to the public prosecutor's office, Rosa used this situation to persuade Giancarlo that the only way to resolve their situation was to eliminate Omar. Another key argument was that Rosa believed her sisters would never report her to the authorities. When she discovered that they had, she tried to shift the blame onto Giancarlo, accusing him and Fernando as the main perpetrators of the crime. Rosa claimed she had been coerced into silence out of fear of retaliation by the alleged criminals. The prosecutor concluded that the three individuals acted with premeditation, malice aforethought, and cruelty toward Omar. Finally, on October 26, 2022, the court found them guilty. Rosa Graciela Mejía, aged 43, was sentenced to 31 years and 8 months for parricide, while her accomplices, Giancarlo and Fernando, received sentences of 25 years and 4 months and 2 years of effective imprisonment, respectively. The judge ordered all three to serve their sentences in the Chiclayo penitentiary and to pay reparations to Omar's family. Omar's family and friends expressed satisfaction with the verdict. Rosa's case serves as a chilling reminder of how betrayal and violence can devastate lives and families. Trust is a fundamental pillar in any relationship, and when it is shattered, the consequences can be catastrophic. Rosa's betrayal not only resulted in the loss of a life, but also left a profound emotional scar on all those involved. Her decision to conspire against Omar, someone who trusted her, highlights a troubling absence of empathy and morality. This act of betrayal was not merely a violation of marital trust, but also an affront to basic human values of loyalty and respect. Betrayal, in any form, has the potential to destroy relationships and inflict lasting damage, but it is crucial to remember the importance of honesty and loyalty toward those we care about. Once trust is broken, it is exceedingly difficult to rebuild. Rosa's actions exemplify how a single decision can lead to devastating repercussions. Well, dear audience, we have reached the end of this investigation. What do you think about today's case? We would love to hear your comments, as your opinions are very important to us. Please remember to express them with the utmost respect for both the victim and other viewers, as well as for us who will be reading them. Before you leave, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video if you think someone you know might be interested. Until next time, goodbye.